Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2, Episode 11, Aftershocks. Now, we've had a long break for this series. We even had an entire different series in between this season. So, it's been a really long time coming back from the mid-season finale, which went off with pretty much, it was around the same time as every other show that all of us watch. And those shows have been back on for weeks now. And I think the only other show that really came on super late was probably The Walking Dead, and even that came on 3 weeks ago, almost a month ago now, and it was really crazy getting back into the swing of things after Agent Carter, which kind of leads into the same sort of spy world and stuff like that as S.H.I.E.L.D, and it's obviously the same Marvel universe, but it's very different. It's different time period, different characters, and all sorts of things. So getting back into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and coming off this huge aftermath of losing a character, having two, pretty big characters, one physically transforming, but the other gaining powers that are still hidden, which I thought was a really cool concept. It changes a lot of things. It's changed tons of huge aspects, and they, kind of dropped in a couple hints here and there. We got to see, sort of this really big mystery. We got a giant question towards the end of the episode, with we thought we found out the answer between what's going on with Mac and Mockingbird is her hero name, and then we find out at the end of the episode that was a lie, and they're doing something. I don't know if they're working for HYDRA, which I feel like they're not, because if that were the case, then HYDRA would have just been alright, Mockingbird is one of the top spies they have, just shoot someone in the face, this and that, and then you're done. Mac could just set anything up to explode. He works on all the machinery. He could have just been alright, they'll start this car, and then boom, they all die. So I don't know what the real plan is. They're looking for Fury's lockbox, and they're gonna make contact with someone, but we don't really know who. We don't know why, or what's gonna be happening. But it's gonna be interesting to see. I don't know what the deal is. Like I said, I don't think it's HYDRA, because all HYDRA's been trying to do is kill S.H.I.E.L.D. off, so why not just kill, the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. when they had the chance. But I can't wait to see what the real answer is, because if I'd obviously, whenever characters have a secret, especially when it's something like that, Mac made the little car model of Lola, for Coulson, and then it was just a way for him to put a secret scanning device in the car that would scan the entire room and find Fury's lockbox for whatever reason. So of course they instantly seem evil because of that, and there's a third mystery team that we haven't heard of, or I guess a fourth one now if you count the Inhumans as their own team, but there's someone else out there that's most likely bad based on the secrecy that they have. Most likely a different bad group that they're going to have to fight off against, and who knows, maybe Leviathan is still a thing and they'd never bonded with HYDRA. Maybe that's what's happening right now, and that's, kind of carrying over from some of the stuff that happened with Agent Carter. Maybe they had that plan all along and they knew that that's, how the season was going to go. So they give us this sort of taste of Leviathan, and then they'll, kind of jump back and forth between future seasons of this and Agent Carter. But either way, I'm excited to see how that stuff plays out. Coulson in this episode was really cool. He seemed like it was normal Coulson at first, and then when Skye was kind of blaming herself, and he got really angry. It was just a great scene for his character. We don't ever see Coulson just, driven to that point where he's just this is wrong. I'm gonna kill the people that did this. Not we're gonna catch these people, which he said that tons of time, don't worry, everyone stay calm, and he might raise his voice a little because he's the leader, but it was never he was mad, and he slammed his hand on the glass and stuff, and he's we're going to find out who did this, and we're going to stop them pretty much no matter what it takes, and he has them go in and basically, has the heads of HYDRA kill each other off, and then he goes in and kills them, and, even that was a crazy cool scene. It was man, that was pretty intense for something, for Coulson, really. It's he's always the capture not kill type of character, and in this case it's alright, let's trick these guys into literally just killing each other off, and then just shoot the last guy, and we'll be done with it, and hand this guy over to Talbot, so we're good to go. So it was an interesting scene. It was interesting to watch his character changed so much in this episode. And, you know, all the characters obviously have a lot to deal with right now. So, you know, it was just great to see his character have that, you know, just impact kind of weighing down on him, not just as, you know, a leader, but just in general as a person who lost a good friend, just like everyone else did. So it was fun to watch that, getting to experience everyone's sort of emotional state after everything that happened, and how some characters kind of fight off the emotional issues and some characters kind of embrace that stuff in their own little way. It was fun. It was interesting to watch and see everyone deal with that step by step. And obviously it's only the first episode where they've had the time to really deal with that. But it's going to carry on for, you know, really it could be permanent. Like, I'm sure it won't happen like every episode they're going to be talking about Tripp. But, you know, for a while they're going to have to deal with that. And it's going to weigh on certain characters in different ways, especially like with Skye, where she feels responsible. And then there is the other side of things where it's like, you know, they kind of believe that Tripp is the one who saved everyone because they thought that the, I can't remember what they called, the obelisk was the thing that was causing an earthquake, but it was actually Skye. So, you know, there's all this different stuff going on that I'm excited to see, you know, really play out. In the stuff with Skye, of course, well, she didn't know, no one really knew that she had powers aside from Rain, and she realized, you know, she came out of it just like I did. And that was also a great scene, getting to see Skye's father, because I had no idea what was going to happen with him. I figured he was just going to be like even more of a villain because Coulson took his one chance to take out Whitehall. I thought that was going to be it. He was going to just destroy Coulson, but he was actually going to kind of take off. He actually, when he thought Skye died, I guess it was kind of like, you know, what's even the point? Like, I lost the chance to kill the actual guy that killed my wife and separated me from my daughter, and then I lost my daughter. And, you know, he probably just was like, I don't even care anymore, but now he knows his daughter's alive. So he really has that chance, and Raina is now in just like this crazy, you know, mental state, and it's like she doesn't even want to live anymore because she, you know, she doesn't look the way that she used to. And it's very interesting, and, you know, both physically and mentally, it's not something she can handle. Like, physically, she doesn't look the same. She doesn't feel, you know, like she's beautiful and attractive and stuff like she used to be. And it even hurts her to move, which I thought was really cool. It actually made me think a lot of the first X-Men movie with Wolverine, when he talks about the claws hurt every time they come out and stuff like that. But I thought it was cool. Like, her being in this different state was really weird, because she's normally like the con artist of the show, where she was never really like the leader or anything, but she was always like the middle person, and she always seemed to have like the bigger play than even the big bosses, because they're like, go do this, and she had to kind of, it seemed at least like she would be the one to come up with all these cool plans, like, all right, this is how I'm going to manipulate this person to that person. And I always loved that. I always found her fun because of that. I always kind of hated her because of that too, because, you know, obviously she's a villain, but at the same time, that's what made her so cool. So I enjoyed that. And who knows how she's going to change as a character. She's going to kill herself at the end. She wanted to die. And of course, that kind of led us to really getting to see the Inhumans in action, or at least, you know, one Inhuman in action, which was definitely awesome. Like, I think they chose the perfect Inhuman to start off with, where in the beginning of the episode, it's him really young and just teleporting all over the place, which looked really, really cool. And then by the end of the episode, I don't know if that was his power, like he mastered it so much that he could create a shield within the teleportation, and it's like, you know, anything within that shield could get teleported if he wanted to, you know, extend his power like that or what. But it looked really sweet. I love that. And he just comes in, he grabs her, and I love the fact that he called her beautiful, and he's, you know, obviously the guy who can't see, but he takes her and it's like, boom, they're gone. And, you know, who knows what's going to happen with that. And it was just really cool to see that in him. He worked with Skye's mother, and she helped him grow and develop and, I guess, adjust to his powers, and, you know, the physical change of, you know, being blind now. I thought that was a cool start, and it also made me excited, because I would love to see more of her character and see this process of the Inhumans and how they grew up after their first transition, because they gave a really huge bit of information through her dialogue, where she says he's old enough to understand but young enough to adapt, which means there is a very specific limit, at least a certain limit as far as being older, being younger. I guess technically they could do it at any point, but they would wait until you're, you know, mentally capable. So I thought that was kind of cool. It's like, why can't older people transform like that? How do they know which people are able to transform? Maybe they don't. Maybe it's just like, if you want to try, you can, or something like that. If you live, you live. If you die, you die. So there are a lot of questions that came up from that, and I would love to get that. Is, you know, maybe not in every episode. I would love it in every episode, but I doubt it'll happen. But if we did get, you know, bits and pieces of information, which I'm sure we'll most likely get from the Inhuman storyline, where the character himself, I can't remember the name, I think it was Gordon or something like that in the beginning, if he is explaining who the Inhumans are and stuff to Raina, and she gets to meet the other Inhumans, then I'm sure we'll get sort of the processes of how they're selected and how they train, and eventually they'll, of course, end up running into Skye, and she'll learn all this extra information about her mother too. So all of that stuff I'm very excited for. I don't know what's going to happen with Skye and her, you know, having the secret, knowing that she has superpowers now, and her and Fitz actually keeping the secret from everyone else. I don't know if that's going to end up being good or bad in the end when everyone finds out. It seems like they're going to find out in the next episode, solely based on the preview. So that's probably just going to be up in the air, you know, by next week, and it won't really make that much of a difference. But I love this episode. I thought it was really cool. We got to see some very interesting emotional states for some of the characters. We got to see Skye sort of use her power. She obviously doesn't have any real control over it. A whole new Raina is going to be really interesting to watch her character go from, like, the amazing con artist to one of the Inhumans who doesn't even like herself, and she doesn't feel like, you know, because she's not beautiful like she used to be, that she doesn't even, you know, she shouldn't even live anymore. So it's, I think that's what really has me so excited, because I always loved her character, even though she wasn't really in it too much. She was always in a couple episodes here and there. But I love her character, so seeing her have this really harsh transition, and it seems like she's also going to have some real serious vengeance towards Skye, who came out perfectly fine. It's just like, boom, I have, you know, earthquake powers, basically. And then, you know, physically she looks exactly the same. That could have a certain drive for her character to want revenge, even though technically it wasn't Skye's fault. So I don't know how that's really going to play out, but I'm excited to see what they do with that. And just everything else that was introduced with the secret stuff going on with Mac and Mockingbird. I don't know what's going to happen there, but good or bad, I'm excited for it, of course. I want to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below, let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And with the Inhumans finally having their full-on introduction, even though I guess technically they had a little introduction last year, geez. With them being in the episode now, and even getting a hold of one of the two characters that was transformed, what do you want to see from the Inhumans? Whether you've read, you know, the comic books for the Inhumans, or you know nothing about the Inhumans outside of what you saw in this episode, and maybe some stuff here and there, since like the movie announcement they did, which isn't for, you know, that's not coming out for another couple years. What do you want to see from the Inhumans? Because, you know, we have this show where we've had a couple of superheroes and, you know, supervillains in it, and what I really want to see is superpowers come into the show full force. That's what I'm excited to see more than anything else. I think the show's well written. I think it's really picked up. I think everyone can agree that it really, really picked up since the HYDRA stuff came in, and it's just been getting, you know, even crazier and cooler. So I think it's got a good pace now. All it has to do is just drop in, like, here's a guy who can teleport, here's a woman with super strength or something. You know, they already have a guy with super strength, maybe they can fight, who knows. But, you know, I'd love to see what they do with the superpowers, and, you know, seeing them get used and stuff like that. Like in this episode, you know, the effects look cool, the characters, you know, actually that was one of the great things I did love about Raina being saved at the end. We got to see, like I said, if his name is Gordon, I could be totally wrong, but we got to see him as a young kid in the very beginning, and we had that, you know, that little quick clip of him during the mid-season finale, but we didn't know anything about his character. He basically said, like, you know, someone else awakened, I'll take care of this. And we saw him in this episode when he first started, and then in the present, and it was such a difference in his character that I actually loved a lot, because in the beginning, he was like freaking out. Like, he was teleporting all over this room and hitting the wall and falling. And he was freaking out, and he was, you know, trying to cry, but he didn't even have eyes. And he had no idea what to do. And then by the end of this episode, he comes in and he's like, you know, I got you, beautiful. And he's like, you know, smiling and stuff, and just like, boom, I'm out of here. And it was just like, he seemed incredibly confident, and he was just really cool. So that was something I actually really thought was pretty sweet about his character. It was like a, you know, quick little line, but he comes in and, you know, he gets ran out of there, and it's like, you know, he's 100% confident in who he is, what he is, and all that stuff. And it was such a difference from that quick, you know, couple minutes, I think like 5 minutes or so in the beginning of the episode, and then one line at the end, and it just showed, you know, who his character has become and how, you know, different he is growing up with his powers and stuff. So, you know, I thought that was just another cool scene. I'm excited to see what's going to be coming down the pipeline for the rest of this season. And I'm assuming, you know, I don't know how many episodes we have, and I assume we have less for this series than most others, which is why we have like the extra 8 weeks showing Agent Carter. So however many we get, I'm excited for. But I think next season, depending on what we really get to see out of the Inhumans in this one, is going to be really, really crazy. But I want to know what you guys thought about this, you know, finally the mid-season premiere for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So please comment below, let me know. And thanks for watching this incredibly long review.